Ave, Caesar! Those who are about to die salute you. Join me in this war story to find out how Romans escaped death in Arminius's trap at the Battle of Long Bridges. It was the year 15 AD, and after fighting an indecisive battle with Arminius, Germanicus ordered Aulus Caecina to lead the Roman army up the Ems River to return west to the Rhine. The forest was silent. The oppressive hush weighed down on Caecina's men, many of whom still remembered the massacre of Varus's legions. In the Teutoburg forest, they pressed toward the Long Bridges, a series of precarious wooden causeways spanning the treacherous Germanic marshes. A single path through an otherwise impassable quagmire was their only route home. When they arrived, the causeways were in ruin. Caecina had only two options. To turn back meant threading deeper into hostile territory, while advancing required repairing the bridges under the watchful eyes of an unseen enemy. He ordered half the men to erect a fortified camp, while the rest worked on fixing the broken crossing. The moment the first planks touched the ground, the enemy attacked.
Lord of light, Father of our fathers, let me not bring misfortune to my legion. Mithras, Lord of light, Father of our fathers, accept whatever sacrifice that I may not bring misfortune to my legion.
Caecina called for every available man to form a defensive line.
I am no friend to fear. This many men know about me. But I do know that fear can rob a man of his dignity and his honor. At this moment in the enemy ranks, fear is doing its work. Soon we will do ours. I fear no man, living or dead. I do not expect the same of you, but in battle remember this. The coward dies 1,000 times. A brave man only once. Fight well, and you will not notice death when he comes for you.
The legions held their ground with unwavering discipline, repelling the Germanic onslaught again and again. But their numbers were endless, and every delay cost precious time. All day, Arminius's warriors hounded them, relentlessly testing their defenses, forcing the Romans to divide their strength between battling the enemy and rebuilding the causeway. By nightfall, the attacks relented and the barbarians vanished into the trees, leaving behind their dead. That night, Caecina summoned his officers and engineers. They could not endure another day like this. The repairs were incomplete, but the choice was clear. They had to move at first light or face annihilation. To delay was to risk meeting the same dreadful fate as Varus. At dawn, Caecina formed up the legions into a hollow square. The baggage was placed in the center, while the legions stood on all sides. The 20th took the rear, the 5th and 21st the flanks, and the 1st led the vanguard. As they advanced onto the causeway, the swamp turned against them. The ground was unstable, with water rising waist-deep in some areas.
Any man who dies will answer to me at tomorrow's roll call.
The barbarians, swift and lightly armored, moved effortlessly through the mire, striking and vanishing before the Romans could counter. Then came the moment Arminius had been waiting for. The Roman baggage train, heavy with supplies, sank into the mud, bringing the march to a halt. As legionaries broke formation to free the carts, a great horn suddenly echoed from the hills. From all sides, the Germans poured forth, sprinting through the marsh with terrifying speed. Arminius led them personally, his voice rising above the chaos. Varus and his legions trapped once again in their doom. The Roman lines wavered, the rear collapsed, panic took hold, and the march became a desperate fight for survival. Men fell by the dozens, drowned, cut down, or crushed beneath the chaos. In a state of panic, the majority of the troops desperately fought their way back to the camp they had just abandoned, hoping to reach solid ground. Supplies are abandoned, and the wounded are left behind. As Germanic raiders descend upon the baggage train, their looting buys the Romans precious time to regroup and establish a defensive perimeter. That night, the fires burned low. The men were wet, exhausted, and beaten. Their supplies were gone, and morale was shattered. Caecina addressed his men, telling them the only way to save their lives was to stick together and fight. They would let the Germans come to them. In his own camp, Arminius waited, knowing that a final assault carried great risk, for cornered Romans would fight to the last man. Instead, he commanded, "Let them starve. Their supplies are gone. In a day or two, desperation will drive them to flee, and when they do, we will hunt them down like deer in the forest." But the Germanic warriors, drunk on their victory, demanded blood and insisted on attacking the Roman camp in the morning. Arminius was overruled. The attack came at dawn. A tide of barbarians surged down the slopes, crashing into the Roman fortifications. The enemy smelled weakness. They stormed through the gates, but the weakness was an illusion. Caecina gave the signal, and from the rear of the camp, all available cavalry burst forth, sweeping around the flanks and cutting off the retreat. From the southern gate, Roman infantry emerged in disciplined ranks, slamming into the Germans with cold steel. The trap had sprung. Chaos turned against them. They were now the ones surrounded. Arminius, caught in the maelstrom, saw the battle turn. His warband faltered and then broke. They ran away like beaten dogs, hiding in the forest. Victory belonged to Rome. By the next day, the bridges were repaired. What remained of the Roman army crossed, battered but unbowed. Caecina led his men back to the Rhine, knowing that though the battle was over, the war for Germania was far from finished.